It started with the most unlikely waste that gardeners usually throw away. Clay soil can test the patience of even the most determined grower. It's sticky when wet, hard as concrete when dry, and suffocates roots that need air. I've seen gardeners give up on their plots altogether because of it. But what if I told you that one of the most powerful soil softeners isn't a fancy amendment, but something that's probably in your kitchen trash right now? I'm talking about used coffee grounds, yes, that forgotten kitchen scrap that can quietly transform even the most stubborn clay into loose, crumbly soil that breathes and drains like rich loam. Once I learned how to use it correctly, my dense garden beds began changing in a matter of weeks. Let's get into how and why it works, and exactly how to apply it without making the common mistakes that ruin the results. What makes coffee grounds so effective is that they're not just organic matter, they're microbial fuel. Clay soils are rich in minerals, but poor in organic life. They bind tightly because the microscopic particles stick together in flat plates, leaving no space for air or water to move through. When coffee grounds are mixed in, they don't physically push the clay apart. Instead, they feed the microorganisms that do. Bacteria, fungi, and especially earthworms thrive on coffee grounds once they start decomposing. These living organisms create glues and channels in the soil, forming a structure known as crumb. This is the holy grail for clay gardeners: crumbly, well-aerated soil that holds water but doesn't suffocate roots. Coffee grounds contain about 2% nitrogen, trace minerals like magnesium and potassium, and a near-neutral pH once used. They help stimulate microbial activity without burning plants like raw fertilizer can. After a few weeks, you can see the change. What used to form slick clumps now falls apart when handled. The transformation happens from the ground up, driven entirely by biological structure, not brute force. Adding coffee grounds straight to clay soil in large amounts can actually make things worse. Fresh grounds are fine-textured and if dumped in layers can compact just as tightly as the clay itself. The key is mixing them correctly with enough carbon material to maintain structure. The ratio that works best is about 1 part coffee grounds to 3 parts dry organic matter, such as shredded leaves, straw, or even coarse compost. This balance keeps air flowing and prevents anaerobic pockets from forming. So here's the most effective method I've used. Just spread a thin layer of coffee grounds, no more than about ½ an inch thick, over the soil surface. Then you'll want to mix it in lightly with the top 4 to 6 inches of soil, along with your brown materials. Don't go burying it deep though. You want the microbes and worms to find it easily because, honestly, the real work happens right near the surface. For heavier clay, repeating this treatment every 2 to 3 weeks during the growing season really does accelerate the structural change. After a few months, your soil will show visible improvement. You'll notice better drainage, fewer cracks, and roots spreading freely where they once struggled. If you've ever noticed worms clustering in areas where coffee grounds were dumped, that's no coincidence. Worms are drawn to the smell and texture, and once they move in, they start the real transformation. As they digest the material, they coat clay particles with mucilage that prevents them from sticking together again. The result is permanent structure improvement, something tilling or gypsum alone just can't achieve. In my test bed, I applied about 2 kilograms of used coffee grounds per square meter mixed with shredded straw and lightly raked it in. Within a month, worm castings appeared across the surface. Those castings act like micro-compost capsules, releasing nutrients slowly while continuing to improve texture. Unlike manure, coffee doesn't introduce weed seeds or strong odors. It's clean, free, and completely sustainable. One overlooked benefit is that coffee grounds also introduce a small amount of lignin and cellulose, which fungi love. Fungal threads are nature's soil engineers. They lace through clay, breaking it apart and stabilizing the organic structure created by worms. When worms and fungi work together, even hardpan clay begins to behave like garden loam. Clay soil, has this really frustrating habit of swinging between extremes. It's either completely soggy or, well, bone dry. Coffee grounds actually act a bit like tiny sponges, helping to balance out this moisture cycle. They soak up excess water when it rains, and then, as the soil dries, they slowly release that moisture back. Over time, this really helps to stabilize the root zone environment and reduces both waterlogging and drought stress. In my own garden, I used to see standing water after every heavy rain, which was a bit disheartening. But after several months of adding coffee, that water finally began to soak in instead of just pooling on the surface. The roots of my tomatoes and beans started growing deeper, and the plants held up so much better during those hot spells. Honestly, this moisture control is one of the least discussed, but, in my view, most valuable benefits of using coffee and clay. For those of you working on a larger scale, say a full garden bed or even a farm plot, the same principle still applies. You'll want to add around 25 to 30 kilograms of used coffee grounds per 10 square meters across the season, dividing it into several small applications rather than just one big dump, and always remember to accompany it with some dry plant matter to keep the balance just right. Clay soils often lock up nutrients due to high pH or tight mineral bonding. Coffee grounds help in two subtle but crucial ways. They add mild organic acids that slightly lower the pH where needed, and their fine organic matter improves the soil's cation exchange capacity, the ability to hold and release nutrients. That means fertilizers and compost you apply afterward are better absorbed and less likely to wash away. This buffering effect is particularly helpful if your clay leans alkaline. Over time, coffee grounds create a gentler, more balanced environment where roots can actually access the nutrients already present. I've seen fruit trees in compact clay suddenly start pushing out new growth after years of stagnation, simply because their roots could finally breathe and feed properly. Transforming clay into friable, workable soil isn't about dumping massive amounts of material once. It's about feeding the soil life regularly, in manageable doses. Coffee grounds, when applied correctly, become a steady diet for the microbes and worms that do the restructuring for you. Within a single season, you'll notice a clear difference in how easily your soil crumbles, how deep your roots go, and how evenly your plants grow. It's one of the simplest, most affordable soil improvement techniques available, and it starts right in your kitchen. So next time you empty your coffee pot, don't toss those grounds. You're holding one of the most effective natural tools for rebuilding tired, compacted clay into fertile, living earth. If you found this guide valuable and want more practical soil-building methods that actually work, make sure to subscribe to Hydro Haven and share this with your fellow gardeners. The best compost doesn't always come from fancy ingredients. It often starts with what we throw away. Keep feeding your soil, and it will reward you season after season.